Picture this. It's 1967. You're deep in the forests of lovely Northern California. The air smells beautiful. Everything's got moss on it. You can barely see the sky. There's so many trees. And every little sound, it's like it's happening right behind you. And then there's another sound that you hear. A branch snaps somewhere behind you. Not like a squirrel or a deer or anything. No, like this was something heavy, something upright, something watching. So you turn your head, slow, dramatic, horror movie style, and for the briefest moment, you catch it. Tall, broad-shouldered silhouette walking between the trees. Not a bear, not a person, something else. Something that definitely did not read the, intro packet when God was assigning animals. And this is the moment millions of people have described in hundreds of different ways. The moment where their, rational brain says, okay, that was nothing, calm down, you're going to be fine. But then your fucking caveman instinct brain is like, babe, that was definitely something and we need to leave now. So tonight we are talking about that something. Welcome back to Why Not Talk About It, the podcast where we unpack the world's most chaotic stories, mysteries, cults, conspiracies, crimes, and cultural moments, one glass at a time. And today, we are going all in on one of the most iconic, controversial, the most stubbornly persistent mysteries of all time, and my personal favorite, Bigfoot, aka Sasquatch, Yeti, Yowie, the hairy man, wild men of the woods, America's biggest outdoor celebrity, literally. This is the episode where we cover everything. Sightings, hoaxes, global cousins, the psychology behind this Bigfoot obsession, the science, of course the conspiracies. I mean, what the fuck are we doing here if we're not talking about conspiracies? And really, more importantly, why every single culture seems to have their own version of this same creature. So, pour a glass, settle in, lock your doors, and definitely turn on your porch light because we are going into the woods. So, let's start where all good stories begin. Long before white men with cameras showed up with their little compasses and unfortunate hats, the indigenous tribes of the Northwest were already out here telling stories about these giant, hairy, human being looking things, right? The vibes were not, cute woodland creature. These things were described as giant human shaped beings covered in hair, hella strong. I mean, they're ripping out and throwing full ass grown trees, super territorial, and like definitely not to be messed with. You don't mess with them. I mean, you've got some tribes revered them, some definitely feared them, but all of the tribes acknowledged them. Here's what people almost always forget. These weren't like vague once upon a time bedtime stories. Some tribes described these beings with the kind of detail you'd only have if you'd actually seen them with your own eyes. We're talking, their favorite hangout spots, their overall, vibe, their social skills, or, lack thereof. I mean, they are still technically, I guess, a wild animal. And even their signature sounds. Some describe the Saskiets, which is basically Sasquatch, as, quiet forest introverts. How many people do you know like that? Others were like, if you hear one calling your name, babe, that is your sign to go home immediately and mind your damn business. Go home. Nothing to see here, right? And honestly, some tribes, they didn't say, hey, look, there's a Bigfoot. They said there are many Bigfoots. Plural, sis, plural. Families, neighborhoods, fucking Bigfoot HOAs up in the mountains. No, thank you. I mean, imagine being one of those early European explorers with your little boots and shit, and someone just comes up to you and is like, hey, by the way, there is a community of giant hairy forest people living over the ridge. I'd leave the continent like immediately. There's absolutely no way. Even better, many tribes didn't describe these creatures as purely physical beings. Some were spiritual, some were protectors, some could allegedly, yeah, just straight up appear or disappear depending on the situation. And the two themes that you see across all of these stories is one, they're ancient, and two, they've been here far longer than we have, right? So it tracks. I don't know. It tracks to me. I mean, if Bigfoot ever came out of hiding, I mean, I'd probably like try to befriend him, obviously. But he'd just be like, great, here's all these fucking little city creatures. They just want to be left alone. They really do. They really do. They're like nature celebrities, and we're the paparazzi, and they just want us to leave them the fuck alone. All right, so now let's fast forward to the early 20th century. This is where logging camps, where they cut down trees and all that shit, that was basically Bigfoot Central. So early loggers in, so the Pacific Northwest, so Washington, Oregon, Northern California, whatever. These people reported seeing enormous footprints, hearing horrifying screams, like unnatural, not human screams, and not like any known animal they'd ever heard. Trees snapping 10 feet off the ground. Like it wasn't, like a tree falling has a distinct sound for anyone who actually knows what that sounds like, which obviously loggers would know. But it was a different sound. It was like coming from high up, like something was and it wasn't a branch. It was like a full ass tree. They were just breaking these trees and giant silhouettes watching them from the tree line. Are you kidding me? I'd shit my pants. There is no way. Okay, but let's pause for a second. So, what do logging camps have? Or what did they have, I guess, at that time? They had zero electricity, zero entertainment, and an abundance of men who don't regularly bathe. I mean, it sounds like my personal hell, really. But so we're working with questionable narrators here, but the footprints they found, they were legit strange. I mean, they were huge, wide, deep impressions that no known animals matched, and they definitely weren't human. I mean, if there was some logger running around there with like clown feet, I think they'd know about it. So we at that point we had newspapers reporting on like wild man of the woods or a mountain giant, and apparently Sasquatch. They didn't coin that term. Obviously, that was a Native American term, but at least they figured out that that's probably what it was, at least. But so at this point, it wasn't viral yet, but it was definitely growing. This was getting some attention. And so the creepy part about these early lumber camp stories is how identical they were across the states. So, without phones or social media or email, whatever, a crew in Oregon would describe the same thing, like the two-legged stomping and the tree noises and the creepy whistling and whooping sounds. And then a crew 400 miles away in Washington would be talking about the exact same thing. Same footsteps, same tree knocks, same, we're being watched and I don't like it energy, right? Like nobody likes to be watched. Are you kidding me? These Bigfoot, I love them, but honestly, they're voyeurs. Is that what they call them? Voyeurism? Anyway. But listen, so these lumberjacks weren't exactly known for being delicate flowers. These men, like I said, they rarely bathed and they ate beans out of cans. But if they got scared enough to completely abandon the job site and risk losing wages, something had them shook, right? And it wasn't a weird raccoon or, the wind or something. It was giving giant hairy man is watching me vibes, right? So by the 1920s and 30s, Bigfoot sightings got so regular that even sheriffs started keeping their own little what the fuck logs. And that's probably not what they're actually called, obviously, but that's what I'm calling them. Newspapers were printing sketches, hunters formed search parties, People were whispering about some kind of forest giant, and they were not being funny about it. Very, very serious. The legend wasn't Hollywood yet. I mean, there were no documentaries, there was no merch or anything, obviously. But it was solid. Something was happening in those woods, and the whole region felt it. Okay, so now we're going to fast forward a little bit and talk about the moment when Bigfoot went fully mainstream. So, Bluff Creek, California, October 20th, 1967. Any of you Bigfooters out there probably know where I'm heading now. Roger Patterson and Bob Grimlin are out on horseback, just riding around, doing their thing, enjoying nature. And according to their story, a creature just walks across the creek bed in front of them. I don't know. It was probably, maybe 50 feet based on the video, because I've seen the video. But anyway, so at that point, they're like, oh my God. So Patterson jumps off his horse and just starts filming immediately. And honestly, props to him, because without, an iPhone, I'm just saying that seems like a lot of work, because those old cameras in 1960s, come on now. But from that, we get the 59 most analyzed seconds in cryptid history. So you've seen the video. If you haven't, please go watch it. Like, pause this, go watch the video. But so there's this tall, bulky, hairy covered figure, swinging arms, which I like to call it the Bigfoot walk, which I have accidentally seen myself in mirrors doing on a few occasions. An oddly human gait. And then it turns and looks directly at the camera. I mean, the drama, right? And then it just walks away into the trees. So people still cannot agree whether Patty, as the creature is nicknamed, they can't agree if Patty is a person in a suit, or the best Bigfoot footage ever captured, or something somewhere in between. So the arguments for the fact that it is real is the muscle movement under the fur. That was a really big one, because that's hard to do in a suit if you actually really think about the logistics there. Another thing is the proportions. So Patty, girl, had long arms and a short torso. The natural gait. So the biomechanic science people lose their shit over this one. And honestly, it hasn't been definitively debunked in 57 years. So there's that. So now we're going to talk about some of the arguments for it's a costume, like it's fake. So there was a man named Bob Hieronymus. I think I said that right. He claimed that he did wear a suit for Patterson. Patterson apparently had a history of, let's call it, creative decision making. So there's that. And a Hollywood costume designer said he could have made something similar, but the keyword there is could. So here's the thing. No one has ever proven it's fake, and it has been analyzed and scrutinized, you guys, like for a long time, almost 60 years. No one has ever proven it's real. And it just kind of lives in this perfect, frustrating middle zone, which is, the footage just refuses to die, because it is truly the most popular, almost definitive proof that we have that Bigfoot is real. In my opinion, but I do think that's pretty widely believed. Anyway, so one of my favorite things about the Patterson Grimlin film is how seriously people study it. Like, full PhDs have been, secured off of analyzing Patty's booty bounce frame by frame. Like, people have been watching her for decades. So coming back to those biomechanic experts, they have been discussing the things like the hip rotation, the foot strike, the way her or its whatever shoulders sway. I mean, if Patty is a man in a suit, then that man is an elite level method actor who really should have gotten an Oscar, because it does look so real. And you have to think, back in that day, I mean, they did not have all of the technology that we have with video, with like Photoshop, and they sure shit didn't have AI. I mean, it's I don't know. Whatever. So, but then we have to look at the whole costume debate. So, special effects artists from that era have basically said, like, honey, nobody in 1967 had the skills or the budget to make muscles move under fur like that. And meanwhile, Patterson's out here just with like a borrowed camera and, forest vibes or whatever. It's not like he was secretly directing Star Wars. He didn't have Hollywood on speed dial. I mean, the man didn't even have proper saddlebags, let alone access to groundbreaking creature suits. Come on now. Skeptics they threw some shade at Patterson. I mean, he did have a reputation for being, creatively enthusiastic, but still, I mean, that's the whole reason he was out there, is because he was like, doing his thing, living his life. He was probably hoping to see Bigfoot, and maybe it just so happened to happen. So all these people throwing shade need to shut the hell up. Anyway, but here's the real issue. If it was fake, where's the suit? Why hasn't it surfaced? Why has no one been able to replicate the footage convincingly, even with modern tech? Please explain that to me. All right, so now let's get into the footprints, the hair samples, all the sciencey stuff surrounding Bigfoot, because Bigfoot is weirdly scientific. So, footprints. Hundreds have been cast, and to be honest, some are hoax, but others have dermal ridges, mid-tarsal breaks, and just consistent patterns all around. So, translation, either someone is hoaxing at an Olympic level, or someone with big ass human-like feet is wandering around the forest. I mean, what other explanation do we have? Okay, so hair and DNA. Hair samples attributed to Bigfoot have been tested many times. Some of the results include deer, bear, wolf, human, quote unquote, unidentified primate, rare, but yeah, I mean, that phrase does appear. And my personal favorite, quote unquote, unknown species. The most famous DNA was found by Dr. Melba Ketchum, who claimed Bigfoot is a hybrid species, so a human mother and unknown hominin father. Do I want to know the logistics on how that happened? Yes, but also no. But scientists roasted her. But I mean, I don't know. Can they explain every sample? No, they can't. Yeah, if they could, they wouldn't have something called unknown species or unidentified primate, right? No. All right, so now let's move on to audio. So there's something called the Sierra sounds, and it's obviously from like the Sierra area in, on the West Coast. It's from the 1970s, and it claims to have captured alleged Bigfoot vocalizations. So things like high-pitched whoops and guttural, that's really hard to say, guttural roars, and like a language like chatter, I guess. They're talking to each other. They have their own language. So then we have a Navy cryptolinguist who said that they simply just have complex language patterns. Thank you, sir. Couldn't have figured that one out on my own. But yeah, the audio, it is creepy. I don't know if any of you have heard it, or I'm sure you have. Like, if you're listening to this episode, you probably like Bigfoot and have seen at least a documentary on it. But if you haven't, please go do that, because it just, I don't know, it's wild. Because like in the woods, there's tons of different animals, and for people who don't go into the woods that often, you don't know what any of the animals sound like. But they just sound large and powerful. I don't know. I can't explain it. You just have to listen to it. So something that's interesting to me is how like weirdly advanced some of the footprints are. Like, if these were hoaxes, these hoaxers were out here like with, PhD level knowledge of 8-foot anatomy for absolutely no reason. That's not what was happening. I mean, some of these prints have scars, deformities, signs of past injuries. There is no casual prankster who would think to include all of those details. unless they had way too much damn time on their hands. But others show that a mid-tarsal break, which is basically, a fancy way of saying that the foot bends in the middle like an ape's. So you're trying to tell me that some dude with wooden cutouts invented that level of nuance in the 1940s? Please, thank you. And you know what? Let's not forget about the depth. So some of the footprints are pressed so deeply into snow or mud or whatever that the creature would have had to weigh at least 700 to 900 pounds. I mean, look, you can fake size, but you can't fake physics. That's not how this works. The ground literally responds differently under different weights. These hoaxers do not have time to study soil compression for their little Bigfoot pranks. And don't even get me started on the shit. Yes, like scat samples. Each time someone finds a giant unknown shit in the woods, scientists are very like, la la la, we can't hear you. But some samples, mixed diet, meat and plants, massive volume, no known species matches it. Bigfoot must be an omnivore, right? I mean, what other animals are omnivores that just like live out in these woods? I don't know. I probably should have looked that up, but anyway. All right. So now let's talk about Bigfoot being absolutely everywhere. And this is, in my personal opinion, where things get really interesting and super convincing. Bigfoot is not alone. There are versions of this creature that pop up everywhere. So let's start with the Yeti. The Yeti is from the Himalayas, and he's the white one, right, in the snow. So, white or brown fur. They're cold adapted. They're linked to, high altitude mysticism, whatever that means. And Sherpas apparently considered, I'm sorry to laugh, Sherpas considered them part of their cosmology. So there's that. Then we've got the Yowie, and the Yowie is from Australia. But apparently these ones are like angry elves. The Aboriginal lore said that they're very aggressive and mean. So there's that. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's so hot there. I don't know. Then we've got the Almas, which are from Mongolia and Siberia. And these ones are described as more human-like, possibly a relic hominin. But the locals insist they're real. And you know what? I believe them. Whatever. Then we've got the orang pendek. I don't think I said that right. Whatever. It is from Sumatra. And it's a smaller bipedal primate reported for centuries by locals and Western explorers. So apparently they're a smaller version of Bigfoot, I guess. But yeah. So then we've got the skunk ape from Florida. It's basically Bigfoot's, sweaty little cousin, I guess. It smells like death. It lives in the Everglades. I mean, I can only imagine everything from the Everglades smells like death. And I mean, I'm picturing it has a mullet too. You never know. All right. Then we've got the Mapinguari. Again, not sure if I said that right. But that one is from the Amazon. Giant, also smelly. Apparently this one is one-eyed, one eye, and it screams. So one more reason to not go to the Amazon. But the point is this, hairy wild man archetype is everywhere. And over all these different times, like, thousands of years, all these different tribes and groups of people from all over have been reporting them. Like, how can we not be taking this seriously, But that leads to one of my favorite questions. Are these myths or are they memories? Anthropologists have been spiraling over this for decades because it's consistent, weirdly consistent. Like I just said, separated cultures who have never met each other and are from all different timelines somehow all have stories about tall, hairy, upright forest people. Please explain this to me. I mean, come on. Tell me there isn't really something going on here. Okay, so now let's talk about why people want this creature to exist. And yes, I'm including myself in that category. Okay, so first of all, we've got the fear of the woods. Humans evolved to be terrified of forests at night. and we are still terrified of them. They're unpredictable, overwhelming, dark, scary, weird fucking sounds. Um, and they remind us that we're small and we're edible. You know what I mean? You're not at the top of the food chain in the forest. And Bigfoot is the physical embodiment of that fear. The idea that something bigger, older, and more primal is still out there and is probably going to kill you. Then we've got the missing link obsession. People are obsessed with the idea that a lost human cousin survived. And you know what? Bigfoot scratches that itch pretty perfectly. Then we've got the I want to believe instinct. Bigfoot lives in the same mental neighborhood as aliens, ghosts, the Loch Ness Monster, all that kind of shit. Not because they're proven, but because people want there to be more to the world. It's the instinct that says, maybe the world is still magical. Maybe we don't know everything, maybe there is still something out there hiding from us, which I don't blame them. We're terrible. All right. And then number 4, we've got the comfort of mystery. In a world where everything is Googleable, unsolved mysteries, they feel alive. You know what I mean? Bigfoot I don't know. It kind of keeps childhood wonder alive, but like for adults. Yeah, I mean, there's this appeal of like the last wild thing. I mean, that's why people love fucking Alaska so much. It's like the last wild frontier, or whatever they call it. But yeah, I mean, Bigfoot kind of represents the idea that the world isn't fully conquered, that there's still something, I don't know, like untouched by us, I don't know. He's just kind of like the original off-grid influencer guy, no phone, doesn't pay taxes, just, kind of hangs out in the woods and does whatever the fuck he wants all day. But you know how some people get like super intense about searching for Bigfoot, how it just becomes like their whole personality. I think that's because Bigfoot gives people a quest, like, like a personal mission kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm like an armchair Bigfoot quester, but there's just sure as shit, I'm not going out there. There's absolutely no way. No, thank you. But yeah, so then, I mean, what about the fear factor? Bigfoot lives in the exact psychological spot where our primal danger instincts wake up. You're, alone in the woods. It's dark. A branch snaps behind you, and your brain isn't logical. It's like immediately something's behind me, watching me, and going to kill me. Bigfoot thrives in that mental real estate. I mean, right? And then there's the nostalgia factor. I mean, Bigfoot's, it's like a campfire classic, s'mores, ghost stories, all that shit, right? He just, I don't know, reminds us of like childhood scary tales. And I don't know. Bigfoot is like comfort horror. Is that a thing? Oh my God, did I just come up with a new genre? Please tell me if comfort horror is already a thing. If not, you're welcome. All right, so now we are finally heading into conspiracy territory. Starting with conspiracy number 1, which is the cave network theory. And this is where the internet really loses its mind. People figured out that Bigfoot sightings line up suspiciously well with underground cave networks. Like when you overlay them on a map, it looks like the creature has literally been following the same, I don't know, subway line, I guess you can say, for like the last 10,000 years. And honestly, if I were a giant hairy ass cryptid who I'd want my privacy, I'd be living in the world's oldest Airbnb too. Fucking caves. Are you kidding me? So this theory basically says that Bigfoot he's not like vanishing into thin air, but he's just dipping into his underground, I don't know, bachelor pad, I guess. Why not? I wonder if they decorate. They are kind of human-like. I'm getting off track. But when you think about it, it would explain why the footprints suddenly stop, because there have been so many, the people who are actually brave enough to go search for Bigfoot. The footprints literally just stop, and there's no like trees around. Like it's not like they went and climbed a tree or they jumped onto a rock or something. Like they just stop. So I mean, it's not interdimensional portals or an alien abduction, just Bigfoot fucking taking that express elevator back underground. I mean, right? That doesn't really make sense, but you never know. None of it does. All right, so conspiracy number 2 is that park rangers know, and they're just not allowed to talk about it. There are entire threads of people claiming that park rangers have seen Bigfoot, but are told to keep quiet, which sounds dramatic, but honestly, park rangers already deal with enough. They're out here trying to save tourists from fucking petting buffalo and taking selfies on cliffs. I'm sure the last thing they need is to file paperwork about a 9-foot forest man. But the conspiracy says otherwise. Some, alleged former rangers claim they had briefings like, if you see something large and bipedal, no, you didn't. I don't know. It would actually make sense from like a government perspective because nothing says we don't want a liability like pretending the giant forest creature doesn't exist. So anyway. All right, now we are going on to conspiracy number 3, which is Bigfoot is a government experiment. All right, so this one is pure chaos, but also maybe not impossible. I don't know. Like, I don't know, it's giving like Stranger Things meets Jurassic Park meets the government. They just did way too much in the 1950s. The theory goes, during the Cold War, some lab, somewhere, mixed human DNA with something it should not have been mixed with. I don't know, gorilla, bear, who fucking knows. And then boom, Bigfoot. Bigfoot's here now. But then he fucking escaped like every lab monster does in every movie ever. And then just reproduced? Were there multiples? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. No, I don't buy this at all, because what about for like centuries? All of the claims, this theory is stupid. But this theory exists because we all kind of know deep down that if any country were going to accidentally create a 9-foot forest cryptid in a lab, it would definitely be the US. But as expected, there is absolutely zero real evidence for this one. It's just a conspiracy, people having a great time connecting dots that do not belong together. But, you gotta respect the creativity. All right, are we ready for conspiracy number 4? This one is, I love this one. Okay, so this is about the missing 411 and Bigfoot connection. So missing 411 cases are, how do I put this? They're incredibly unsettling. If you've never heard of them, the missing 411, quote unquote, it's a series, and it was created by David Paulides. He's a former police detective and author who started the project after a park ranger approached him and encouraged him to research all these unexplained disappearances in national parks, like all over the country, in the US anyway. So this is not a new concept. People vanish in national parks under bizarre circumstances way more often than you would think. I mean, literally, they have a whole show, and he wrote something. I mean, it's called Missing 401. Look it up. But the explanations are always just like, I don't know, nature. Like, how can you explain it? Some of them, you guys have to go watch it or read it, whatever. They are wild. But yeah, I mean, some stories genuinely sound like something large just grabbed them and just dipped, which kind of relates to that one theory about the Bigfoot having those interdimensional, not portals, whatever we said. Hey man, it could track. You never know. The whole thing's a fucking mystery. So what do we know? But yeah, I mean, people have found, clothes neatly folded, kids traveling miles uphill like they suddenly were a mountain goat, dogs, just search dogs refusing to track because of, probably the scent, I would imagine. I mean, like, right, like that's not alarming. Come on. So, is there proof? No, there's not. Are these cases incredibly creepy and unsettling? Absolutely. But here's the thing. Bigfoot doesn't really give, I don't know, kidnapper energy. He seems more like he'd roll his eyes at humans and walk away. But then again, if you look at the different, like what was that one called? The Whoopi or something like that. The one from Australia who's just like an asshole. I feel like they might kidnap someone. I don't know. But yeah, so the overlap it's spooky, especially when people say they like saw something tall moving fast between trees right before someone goes missing. That shit is scary as hell. All right, now we're going to move on to a quick one. This is conspiracy number 5, and it is about the interdimensional Bigfoot. All right, so people who believe this theory say Bigfoot appears suddenly, disappears suddenly, leaves footprints that stop mid trail, is seen in the same spots as some known UFO sightings, and apparently radiates a weird energy. So essentially, the idea here is that Bigfoot isn't an animal and he's just a being that moves between dimensions. I mean, I guess that would explain why we never find any bones or bodies or, Bigfoot's dental records, that kind of shit. So I don't know. I kind of feel like some, like a few of these conspiracies blended together, like bits and pieces of them make some sense. But um, yeah. So finally, we have conspiracy number 6, which is it's talking about a relic hominin. So this is the theory where scientists are like, okay, maybe this is true. The relic hominin idea says that Bigfoot is the surviving descendant of a prehistoric human species, something like Gigantopithecus, which is like literal giant apes, Homo erectus, the Denisovan offshoot. They apparently they were huge, like giants, probably. Which there's a whole other conspiracy about giants. We should do an episode on that. Let me know if you want me to. Or some unknown, just side branch of humans. This theory is weirdly grounded. I mean, it's basically saying, what if Bigfoot is just a prehistoric guy who never got the memo that his species was supposed to go extinct? And honestly, I'd buy that. Because there's that whole theory about, we used to be monkeys, you know what I mean? Like evolution situation, and maybe Bigfoot is just a stunted version of that, like an offshoot of that evolution, and then there's humans now. I don't know. Food for thought. But yeah, I mean, humans coexisted with other hominin species for thousands of years. Like, we already know this. So the idea that one survived in remote forests, that's not crazy. If Bigfoot is real, which come on, he is. This is the most boring, least dramatic explanation, but it probably means it's the correct one. But here at Why Not Talk About It, we like to explore the more spicy alternatives. So do what you will. All right, so now let's move into the hoaxes, because we humans, we can't help ourselves. You know what I mean? So some Bigfoot sightings are indeed men in suits, bears standing up, tall ferns probably, people wanting attention, and of course, drunk campers. But the most dramatic hoax happened in 1958 when Ray Wallace faked giant footprints. And then, decades later, his family finally admitted it. But here's the problem. Hoaxes, they muddy the water, but they don't erase the real sightings. The annoying thing about hoaxes is that they get way more airtime than the actual legit sightings. So some guy can just run across the street in a Spirit Halloween gorilla suit and the news goes wild. But then when a wildlife biologist with 40 years of field experience sees something completely unexplainable, no one gives a shit. And then there's the fact that some of these hoaxers are just way too creative. Some carve giant wooden feet, some use metal contraptions, some spend literal days stomping around in freezing weather just to confuse future hikers. It's insane. But honestly, the more extreme the hoax, the more it makes me think, okay, but like, why are you working this hard unless you're copying something for real? You know what I mean? Either way, experts, they can usually tell the difference. I mean, we talked about all those nuances earlier, like the metatarsal and the like scars and battle wounds or whatever on their feet. Yeah. but yeah, so I mean, like bears, they don't walk long distances upright unless something is very wrong. Humans in suits don't weigh 800 pounds. Costumes, they rarely get that, natural movement right. You remember like the muscles under the fur, the like weight shifting, the swing, the gait, the muscle tension. You can't just fake that. I mean, if you want it to look realistic anyway, there's just no way. So hoaxes don't disprove Bigfoot. They just prove humans love attention and a little chaos. But if anything, they keep the legend spicy, and we like that. All right, so enough with all the historical sightings. Let's talk about some of the more recent ones. Bigfoot has not slowed down, people. Has not slowed down. Recent sightings include dash cam footage, drone videos. We got all them thermal cameras now, the thermal images people have captured, hikers' iPhone footage, and then, of course, Reddit threads that haunt people. For instance, there was this one guy in Oklahoma who said that Bigfoot legit stalked him for 2 days. So, I mean, that's creepy as hell, but it does kind of make me think, and based on all of the other sightings we've had with Bigfoot, it makes me think they're just really curious about us. Like that voyeur comment I made, I stand by that. I think they really are just they're watching us, but if they wanted to hurt or kill us, I feel like we would have a lot more stories of like this Oklahoma man. He would not have lived to tell this story. You know what I mean? Anyway, so there was another story where there was a group in Washington who filmed this, tall figure pacing them through the trees. God knows how long that went on. There were some hunters in Montana who heard screaming so loud that they legit left all their gear behind and they took off. I mean, if a hunter leaves expensive equipment, honey, that means they were scared, right? So I don't know. But you got to think too, like these all happen in kind of different areas. And based on that description we got earlier about like at the beginning with the Yowie or Yeti or whatever, like they all have different temperaments, it seems like. I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, so even in like 2023 and 24, there were viral clips showing strange silhouettes walking across remote hillsides. And again, it could be fake, could be real. I mean, now we're living in the land of AI, so God knows what's real. But yeah, we don't know. But one of my favorite modern sightings was from a group of military personnel using night vision goggles. They were doing a training, and they all swore that they saw a giant upright figure with glowing eyes just casually strolling like it was taking an evening walk. You know what I mean? But the thing is that the glowing eyes is probably just because it was at night. You know what I mean? Like they're not like glowing red eyes like some fucking horrible forest creature or something, right? I don't know. Like a Wendigo or whatever those are called. Yeah. So then there was another couple in British Columbia. They caught thermal footage of a massive figure sprinting uphill like it was training for the Olympics. I swear to God, I would lose my shit if I saw that. Honestly, I'd lose my shit if I saw any of these things. The only reason I can handle it is because I'm watching it from the comfort of my living room on a documentary. So that helps. And then there's the whole situation with drone footage that has apparently made things extra chaotic. People are filming like these just giant silhouettes walking across ridges. I mean, you can't tell if it's Bigfoot or honestly a guy in a snowsuit. I mean, well, with drones, can't you just zoom down? I don't know. But anyway, some of the clips are they're just too smooth, too coordinated, too tall, realistic. I don't know. They're just way too suspicious. But the audio, though, my God, deep roars, horrifying whoops, and screams that even make hunters who are very comfortable in the woods just be like, no, absolutely not. And they just pack up camp immediately and leave. That would be me for sure. You know what though? I wouldn't even be out there in the first place. Who am I kidding? Come on now, we all know this. But these modern sightings, they keep coming, and this mystery is not going anywhere. It really isn't. But here's the truth. Bigfoot, it's not just a creature. In a lot of ways, I think Bigfoot represents, well, fear, obviously, mystery, wilderness, the unknown, that kind of thing. The hope that like something wild still exists, the suspicion that, maybe we aren't the only intelligent primate on this planet. Like we talked about the nostalgia of the campfire stories, that kind of thing. And the possibility that maybe we're not done discovering things, because, how boring would that be? But, he's the last great American myth, but also, a global one. And honestly, even if Bigfoot never shows up with a fucking DNA test, he doesn't have to. The point is the mystery. Bigfoot also represents, in my opinion, something that I think everyone craves, which is the idea that, the world hasn't been fully turned into a strip mall yet. He's kind of like the last symbol of untouched nature. There's also a lot of people who see Bigfoot sort of, I don't know, like a mirror, I guess. So where skeptics see nonsense, the believers see proof, which you can apply that to just about anything, Bigfoot or not, right? Yeah, so everyone projects something different onto him, which, is hilarious because the man himself is out there doing absolutely nothing except minding his own damn business. But yeah, and then then there's the whole Bigfoot industry, which, this boy has become a full-blown aesthetic. Merch, memes, statues, air fresheners, festivals. The man has branding. And let me tell you, I'm here for it. I love me some Bigfoot. So whether he's real or not, he lives in the corner of our eye and our imagination. He's just fun. We love him. So, as you have probably gathered by now, I am absolutely a Bigfoot believer. He exists. He's out there. He's living his best mysterious forest man life, drinking stream water, avoiding taxes, not checking email. But honestly, I respect his commitment to staying out of the public eye. Paparazzi ain't got nothing on him. But I do want to know what you think. Do you think Bigfoot is real? Which global version do you find the most believable? The Yeti, Yowie, our American big boy? Why do you think so many cultures have the same creature? Do you think the Patterson-Gimlin film is real or fake? What theory makes the most sense to you? The relic hominin or interdimensional being or one of the other crazy theories? Have you ever had a freaky moment in the woods where you were like, yeah, I'm not alone and I need to leave? And finally, if Bigfoot knocked on your door, are you letting him in or are you calling the cops? I genuinely want to hear your thoughts. So drop a comment or email us at whynottalkpodcast@gmail.com. Also, side note, those Bigfoot AI videos, the ones where he's like running around with a GoPro or blowing up campsites with TNT? Please tell me you don't secretly wish that's exactly who he is in real life. Bigfoot has to have a personality. He just has to. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to Why Not Talk About It. Today's episode, if it awakened your inner cryptid researcher, please head over to whynotpod.com where you can do all kinds of things. You can join our newsletter. You can submit an episode topic idea. We do love hearing what you guys want us to do a deep dive on next. And you can also send a listener confession, just anonymous, unhinged, and possibly concerning, which is our favorite category. But speaking of confessions, a lot of you have asked how this works. So here's the deal. Every week, we feature one anonymous listener confession inside the After Hours newsletter. It goes out weekly on Fridays. And sometimes they end up on the podcast. So just the messy, hilarious, the unhinged, whatever. So if you've got something wild, embarrassing, and, I can't believe that just happened to me story, we want it. Your identity stays safe, but your confession absolutely does not. So you can submit anytime. Just go to whynotpod.com. But we do have, for our Poor Decisions members through Patreon, theirs get featured priority inside the After Hours newsletter. And again, the Poor Decisions Club is through Patreon is only $5 a month, and you get all kinds of other exclusive content. So if that's you, spill away, babe. All right, that is it for today, but I will see you next Thursday for another beautifully unhinged episode. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Bye.